6 years now. There's our recording. Got it. Just a little background on PRC. We have been around since what is that number? 1975. And we provide free resources to residents of DuPage County. You see our website, peoplesrc.org, listed there. Specifically, both Adam and I are in the jobs program, and you will see information. We have our own page on the People's Resource Center website. So look there, please, for resources on job assistance. We do one-on-one job coaching, so that may be something that is of interest to you. Just a few guidelines for our workshop this morning. If you would like to turn on your video, we would love to see your faces. And but I would ask that everybody mute, unless you have a question, please mute so that we don't have any background noises. We will also, I think, if I could get Matt to monitor the chat function, that would be helpful. If you have a question as we go along and you just want to put it in the chat, that's fine. But also as we go along, if you would like to just turn on your audio and ask a question directly during the presentation, neither Adam or I think will have a problem with that. I'd rather, when the topic is live and we're talking about it, to address your question as we go. With that, Matt, if you will get us to the People's Resource Center page. There you go. Here's a list of all of these services that come out of People's Resource Center. We have offices in both Westmont and Wheaton. And you can see the list here. Again, the last one is the Job Search Assistance Program. And we can help with resumes. We have an online job board. And we do the one-on-one coaching. You would be assigned, after going through an orientation, a job coach, which is really a really lovely experience. So I encourage you to do that. All right, so let's get started on LinkedIn. This workshop was created by People's Resource Center to address the question, how do I use LinkedIn to find a job? And I think by the time we get done today, you're going to see why LinkedIn is an excellent place to start your job search. So with that, I want to start first by talking about social media and social networking, because I want to make sure we get our terminology down. First of all, social media are the websites and applications that you can use to interact with other people and get your message out there. Social networking is the use of those sites to, again, do things like put content out there, interact with other people, or market yourself, which is what you're doing during a job search. And these sites, you can see all the little logos here, range from YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Google+, WhatsApp, which I have never used before. But LinkedIn is the largest professional social networking site in the world. And let's break it down. I'm going to give you some background on LinkedIn and what it's all about. The first thing that you will notice about LinkedIn, what makes it different, in my opinion, from other sites, is that it's built off of the foundation of networking. And when I say the word networking, please don't let that scare you. I mean, yes, there is professional networking, but if you break it down, networking really is simply the act of meeting and getting to know other people who you may help or may be able to help you. You do it informally every day. I mean, we're talking to people, we're sharing our stories, we're on the phone, we're talking about our game plan, whatever. So that's something you do informally. In the business context, networking is about getting your information in front of people, or learning from other people in a business context. Maybe you've heard of the term 6 degrees of separation. That really is the web that creates your network. And that 6 degrees of separation is a theory that you're connected to everybody else on the planet by a string of 5 other people. So you can trace yourself to another person, anybody on the planet, by 5 other steps of people, if you will. So you can imagine, if you can imagine this web, the diagram here does a great job of it, of if you think of spatially all the people that you know and who can impact your job search, you may know someone that knows someone that knows someone that can help you. That's what networking is at its finest. But imagine now social media and technology have the ability to expand your networking capabilities exponentially. And that, my friends, is the kind of foundation, the crux of a site like LinkedIn and how it can help you. It can help you find people who can help you. So if that makes sense. So that is our little discussion on networking. But let's take a look at LinkedIn itself. And I'm going to refer to some of my notes here because there are a lot of facts and figures here. So what is LinkedIn? It was officially started or launched in 2003, and it was acquired by Microsoft in 2016. It is the #1 work-based or professional social networking site in the world. And overall, it's the 22nd most visited website in the world. It's also listed as the most trusted networking site out there. So I think that lends to its credibility. It has 1.7 billion monthly traffic and is available in 26 different languages. And I like to think of it as, if we're talking about the what it is, as the Facebook for the business world. And I'm going to expand on that in a little bit. So who uses it? Well, individuals, and in this case, it's employees or job seekers, and businesses. They can be companies, recruiters, etc. There are over 1 billion members across 200 countries, and 52 million users are looking for jobs on a weekly basis. So this is big. I mean, these are obviously big numbers. More than 1/4 of US adults use LinkedIn. And the mix is about 57% men and 43% women. Just some background. A whopping 77% of recruiters use the site in their work, and 72% of those recruiters find LinkedIn to be the most effective place for them to vet and search for candidates during the hiring process. 67 million companies use it as well and have a presence on LinkedIn. So I guess bottom line, more importantly, it's where you can find resources to help you find a job and the companies, recruiters, and managers who are looking to hire. So for me, it's the sweet spot. It is the networking capabilities on top of the sheer traffic that's on the site that really make LinkedIn the ideal place to find a job. So we're going to go into this in a little more detail. Next slide. So why do people use LinkedIn? Well, first of all, it's to promote themselves. As I said, finding a job is like marketing yourself. Your resume is like your sales brochure. It's you promoting your achievements, your work history through an online profile. Next, people, as we mentioned, use it to network with other professionals, other organizations, or recruiters. People also use it to share content. Just as you would on Facebook, share pictures, and other content, you can do that on LinkedIn, but of course it's going to have more of a business slant to it. It may be research your company's done. It may be an article that you'd like to share with people. So that's what I mean by sharing content. And lastly, you can use it to find a job. And speaking of specifically using LinkedIn to find a job, again, some more facts and figures for you, but there are over 20 million open positions on LinkedIn this year, with 3 million jobs posted every month in the US alone. So there's, again, a lot of content out there, a lot of opportunity out there. 52 million people use it to search for jobs every week, and 40% of LinkedIn users have changed their job, their company, or their industry every 4 years. That's kind of an amazing thought. 8 people are hired through the site every minute. So if I haven't like stated the case enough for why LinkedIn is a good resource for you. Here's another reason on this slide. Why should you be using it for job searching beyond all the information I've already given you? Here's a kind of a sobering fact. Only 15% of available jobs are ever advertised. That means that the other 85% can only be found through networking. It's knowing someone that knows there's an opening that can help you get your foot in the door. That, again, I think is a sobering fact. What it says is there is a hidden job market out there that you need to know somebody in order to access. Conversely, 70%, and this is from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, 70% of secure jobs are reported as having been found through networking. And I think in this day and age where things are more digital, we're using more technology to find work, LinkedIn becomes just such a great resource. And finally, what I think it does for the candidate, for the job searcher, 64% of recruiters rate referred candidates, people who have come through to them through networking, as more highly qualified. So when someone vouches for you that you can handle the job, that you have the skills, that you have the work history, that makes you a more highly qualified candidate in the eyes of people who are looking for candidates. So again, I hope I'm stating the case for why LinkedIn's a great spot. So let's move on. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at LinkedIn itself. And before we do this, I want to give a little preamble, and that is LinkedIn, the developers and the marketers at LinkedIn have done such a great job with this site. It is ultimately user-friendly, but it does tend to change in terms of its appearance, the colors, the look and feel, which makes it, I think, an interesting site. It stays interesting and it stays lively, in my opinion. So the screen captures we're showing you here today may not look exactly like you are going to encounter, but the basic layout is the same, and you should be able to find what you're looking for. And it should look generally like you'll see, but again, the pictures and whatnot may have changed a little bit. So when you get in there, what I would recommend is look around. You cannot screw things up. You can't hurt anything by just clicking on things and then hitting the back button or whatever. Just get in and explore is my advice. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a LinkedIn account. And when you go to the LinkedIn site, which is linkedin.com, you will first notice a landing page that looks something like this. And you'll see in the upper right, the join now or sign in buttons. You click join now, and what you'll do, and Matt, if you will click one, there you go. You will see the page where you can actually join. You'll put in your email address, the one, and I would suggest if you have a business email address, you use that one, and then a password of your liking, and hit agree and join, and you are now a member of LinkedIn. Congratulations. So one thing that I want to note here is there are different types of LinkedIn accounts. Some are paid. By and large, the majority of LinkedIn users use the free version of the tool, but there is also a LinkedIn Premium, a Sales Navigator, which is available in a team and a professional version, and then a recruiter version, which doesn't apply to the majority of us. So you may be asked if you want to join specifically LinkedIn Premium. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on that. You probably don't need that. There is a fee to it. It's not tiny, but it's not huge, the extra monthly fee. And you probably don't need it. You're probably just going to be fine just with the free version. So now that you are a LinkedIn member, you're going to work on creating your profile, which is your presence on the site. And here's a list of 9 things, 9 steps you're going to go through in creating your profile. I'm going to go through these between Adam and I. We're going to go through these, and we're just going to touch on these lightly and give you kind of the why behind why you're doing each of these steps. So let's start with, first of all, uploading a professional photo, which is the next slide. Thank you. All right. Here is an example of the top of a profile. And one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to add a photo of yourself. And that photo, here's the guidelines. Doesn't have to be overly formal, but it shouldn't be overly casual either. I think the photo that you use should match the job type that you're looking for. So if you're a very professional person, you probably want to be in a suit and tie. If you're an artist or a creative of some sort, maybe it's a little more casual. So those are kind of my guardrails on that. But I want you to know that research suggests that a professional photo used in a LinkedIn profile will get 14 times more views than one that does not have a photo. So put a photo, all right? That's my advice. Next, you're going to want to add your location and the industry you work in. You'll see that this person is in the San Francisco area. And why I'm saying you need to add your location and your industry is because those are 2 of the most important filters that people will use, specifically recruiters and hiring managers, that they will search on to find people. Because of course, one of the most important criteria in a candidate is, do they work or have experience in the industry that we're in? And where are they located? Are they available to work in our office? So those are extremely important. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to add a headline. And in this person's case, they're the head of identity products at LinkedIn. So the importance of the headline, and it can be up to 120 characters, is because it provides a brief look at what you do, what you're capable of doing. And then next, you're going to add a summary. And the summary can be 2,000 characters, around 300 to 350 words. And if you think that this almost is laying out like a resume, you're exactly right. That summary looks a lot like the objective or the professional summary that you might have at the top of your resume. So that would be my suggestion. If you have a working resume, cut and paste that objective or summary at the top of your resume into your LinkedIn profile so that now you have some consistency between your resume and your profile, which is important. I gave you the number of words. I think this section is often underutilized, and what it's meant to do is it's meant to give a quick synopsis of what you do, what you're capable of, but it's kind of your area where you can get a little creative. It's meant to draw people in. It's meant to pique their interest for you as a candidate and draw them into the rest of your profile so that they can see the meat of your resume and what you've done in the past. So I would not leave this empty by any stretch of the imagination. Use it to your advantage. But I want to add one last thing, and that is it's important that this summary contain what we call keywords. And if you've ever been on some of the job boards, the hiring sites like Indeed, Monster, ZipRecruiter, et cetera, and you've been sending in applications and you feel like they're going off into a black hole and that you're not getting any response, chances are there's something at work behind the scenes. And that thing, that technology, is called the applicant tracking system, or the ATS. And the ATS is really, again, just technology that is being used to winnow out or narrow down to a manageable number of resumes that can be considered by a hiring manager or company. So for some of these jobs, there may be 200 applicants. And today's hiring manager or HR manager does not have the time to sit with a stack of 200 resumes and read through them and try to figure out who their top, 2, 3, 5 candidates are. So they use technology to winnow out less qualified candidates. Now, how does that technology figure out who's more qualified? Technology doesn't, the ATS system does not have the ability to read nuances in your resume. What it's looking for are things called keywords, which are the skills and accomplishments and experience that you have that match the job. So if you're an accountant, the word accountant or balance sheets or things that are applicable to an accountant, those words need to be in your resume because it makes you searchable or findable by the ATS system. Hopefully that makes sense. I encourage you to do a little more research if you have some questions on the applicant tracking system, but that is the technology that sites like Indeed Monster and LinkedIn use to find the best candidates. So I think I've touched on that subject enough. So let's move on with creating your profile. And this is a little known fact, but when you sign up and become a member of LinkedIn, you receive your own unique internet address called the URL. And in the case of LinkedIn, they assign you your own URL, and it's generally your first and last name followed by, like 20 different letters and characters, something that's kind of not manageable. So why is this URL even important to you? Well, what you can do is you can take that URL and you can put it on a business card, you could put it on your resume, but it allows someone who's looking for you on LinkedIn to go directly to your profile rather than logging in, searching on you, trying to find you, and whatever. They can go directly to you. So it gives a shortcut right to you. Now, that address, as I mentioned, is unwieldy. It's too long. But what LinkedIn allows you to do is edit your URL. So you can bring it nice and tidy into, maybe it's just, in my case, LoriTanking123.com. Obviously, it has to be a URL that nobody else has used, but I would just want to point out it's important that you can use this to get people directly to you, and then you can shorten it. And all you have to do is hit the Edit Public Profile and URL button, and it will allow you to skinny it down a little bit. All right, so that's that. Let's move on. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to add your work experience to your profile. And I have an example here of a profile that's been created. And again, if it looks like a resume, you are correct. It does look a lot like a resume. Speaking of that, what I would suggest you do is start by just copying over information from your resume. Just cut and paste it into these fields and start building it from there. I would recommend using a SAR approach here, which means, those bullet points that you see there, making sure that those tell the story that you want to tell in a form of situation, action, result. Hiring managers are always looking for results. They're looking for quantifiable success that you've had on the job. And again, keywords are really important here. So this person's an account executive. So sales, customer service, clients, increases versus last year, results are really important here, are going to make you as a candidate come to the top of the pile of 200 resumes because you're putting all of this really actionable stuff in there. So the one last thing, let me make sure I get everything. Couple other things to note here. First of all, make sure that, I think I mentioned this before, that your LinkedIn profile and your resume are in sync with each other. The last thing you want to have happen is them to find information in one place that's not in another. But having said that, What I love about LinkedIn and your LinkedIn profile is that no longer are you confined to a single page of your resume. Now you have much more space to work with. So here's your chance. If you've ever been in that situation where we're creating a resume and, oh, I'm running out of room, I got to take off that bullet point and that bullet point. Well, I really wanted to use those. Now you can do that on your LinkedIn profile. You can really make this about as long as you want it to look within reason. You don't want to have too much stuff for them to read if they're looking for candidates, but you have just a little more leeway here to embellish your work experience. Again, make sure that it's all results oriented, action oriented, and that you're using your keywords, and you should be great. But a great place to start is your resume. And now that I'm saying that, I think I'm going to steal Adam's thunder a little bit, but there also is a resume creator on LinkedIn. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but you don't have to do it on your own. If you don't have a resume, LinkedIn will actually create one for you. So hold that thought. The next thing we're going to do is, on the next slide, is adding skills. Now, skills are keywords. So LinkedIn makes it ultimately easy to add skills. You can add up to 50 skills to your profile. Again, these are skills and accomplishments or capabilities that you've accumulated through schooling, through your on the job experience, or through education, business education. And the cool thing about LinkedIn is you go to this section and it's kind of an open-ended slate here. You just start typing in something. So for example, if you have social media marketing experience, you start typing that in, and you'll notice here on our little screen capture that it starts giving you ideas. And so rather than typing it all the way out, you can just click on that thing and it automatically gets added to your profile. You can add up to 50 skills here. And again, I mentioned that keywords are how people find you. They make you more searchable. So if I'm a hiring manager, I'm looking for somebody with social media marketing skills, you will want to have that skill listed on your profile. Because again, it makes you stickier, it makes you findable, searchable. So this is a really interesting section. LinkedIn makes it ultimately easy to add those skills. And the place you can find those skills is on your resume, but also you can search for keywords. Just Google search this. Keywords for a social media marketing person, as an example. And lo and behold, Google will bring up a host of keywords that you can use. So that's a way you can find those and make sure that they're in your profile and on your resume. All right, that's skills. The next thing we're going to talk about is endorsements. An endorsement is a one-click way for your connections to verify the skills that are listed on your profile. So we've just gone through that process of adding skills. Now you can kind of add the cherry on top. So I can say that I have social media marketing experience, but if Adam were to click on that and say, yep, I'm one of her contacts and I know her, she has that skill. You can see that now there's more credibility to me than to me just saying that I have that skill. So it literally is one click. Your contacts, your connections on LinkedIn can go in and look at your profile, and then they can add that endorsement. This is actually a screen capture from my LinkedIn profile where I said that I have cross-functional team leadership. I actually do. But then you can see that 21 of my colleagues that I worked with at my company say that yes, Lori has that experience. And you can just see that the credibility is there once those endorsements are added to your profile. So that's a really interesting little feature on LinkedIn that just, again, makes you a better candidate. All right. The next thing is recommendations. And with LinkedIn, I would say that a recommendation on LinkedIn is kind of your modern day version of a reference letter. You know, I think people might think that letters of recommendation or references are a thing of the past. Well, LinkedIn has brought those into the new age and giving you a really easy way to do that. So under the recommendations section, which is, again, if you go through and we're creating the profile, it's going to just walk you step by step through this process that I'm taking you through. But it asks you, how do you know this person? And you can select them from your in the contacts field. So I'm going to ask Adam for a recommendation. Then it gives me a section where I can write him a personal message asking him for the recommendation and why I want it or why I think I should have it. And then literally click send, and Adam will receive this request for a recommendation. And he has then the ability to, fill out a little section of his own stating why he's giving me his recommendation. So again, this is another nice little tool within your profile that just still lends credibility to what your accomplishments are and what value you can bring to a company. All right. Next, we are going to upload your resume. So now you may be asking, why do I want to upload my resume if I've just filled all that out in my profile? Well, the answer is you really don't have to upload your resume, but it is nice to have it there in case you're job searching and you want to send your resume or upload your resume or have it accompany an application for a job that you've filled out. I have found this ability to upload your resume in numerous parts or numerous sections of LinkedIn, but it is in your profile as you're filling it out. It's in that process. You'll see a pencil icon. I found it in the upper right-hand corner of the experience section. Then you scroll down to the media section and click upload, select your resume file, add a title and a description for that resume, and click apply and then save to return to your profile. It literally is just pasting a virtual copy of your resume to your profile. And you can add up to 5 versions. That's why you're adding a title and description to the resume. You can add 5 versions and you can set one as a default. So that is adding your resume. The next thing you want to do, and again, all part of the profile building process, LinkedIn gives you numerous ways to continue to market yourself and your skills and to make yourself stand out and make you more searchable. You can, so we've already talked about adding your work experience. There is further area for you to add your education, any licenses and certifications that you have, any volunteer experience that you have. And it also has a section where you can add your accomplishments. And depending on what line of work you're in, these can be things that you've published, any studies or patents that you have. I certainly don't have any, but you might. Courses that you've taken, professional organizations that you're part of, any languages that you speak, which is becoming increasingly important, any honors or distinctions or awards that you've received. So again, just the ability to continue to market yourself and your accomplishments is really helps you stand out in terms of candidates, right? Next, to continue to make your profile stand out, one last thing, and it was actually the last button on that last slide, which is organizations that you're part of. And here again, I've used a little snippet from my own profile. I used to work at Nielsen, so I'm part of the Nielsen Alumni and Associates Group. I'm also a graduate of the University of Nebraska and was a sorority member. So these are 3 things now, 3 organizations that I'm a part of, that if someone wants to get to know me better or they want to use their network to find me, they can search on people in these groups. And it's just another way to make yourself stand out. And again, make yourself more findable or tighten your network a little bit so that people can network with you. So I highly recommend adding your organizations to your profile. All right. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Adam.
Thank you, Lori. I Appreciate the opportunity. And I wanted to start with adding connections on LinkedIn and sort of how you um, effectively network. And the perspective that I sort of come from as a small business owner is both using LinkedIn as a true networking tool for business development, but also for finding employees, freelancers, and the like. So I kind of look at it through I guess a perspective lens, but nevertheless, let's start here with adding connections. So the easiest way to do this, and the way that works the best with the algorithms and how you find people to connect with on LinkedIn, is to simply connect your contact list through LinkedIn, which you can do through settings, and you'll have the option of using Google Contacts, your phone, or Microsoft Outlook. And that right away will get everybody you know, or at least have their email that they also use on LinkedIn as a prospective connection, who, once loaded up, you can just sort of connect and go down the list. And if they accept your request, then you'll be connected. If you're looking for somebody who is not in your contact list, for someone who is like a recruiter or someone whose name you know, you simply have to do just a basic search using the search box on the top left of the screen, and then hit connect. Now, that will almost undoubtedly find the person you want to connect with, but the question becomes, can you in fact connect with them? And the way that connections are sort of bifurcated on LinkedIn is first, second, third degree connections, and then out of network. So your first degree connections are the people that you already connected with, right? Like they've requested your connection, you've requested theirs, and you've accepted, or vice versa. Second degree are people who are connected to your first degree connection. So I know Lori knows Martha, therefore, but I don't know Martha. Martha is a secondary connection. And in most cases, you'll be able to connect to this secondary connection directly. Now, this is constantly evolving, and Lori made mention this multiple times. LinkedIn is constantly changing how it works. And for like a new account, you'll find that you're limited to the number of second degree connections that you can actually directly connect to initially. And as you grow the number of connections, or you're more active on the platform, the amount of second degree connections that you can connect to will increase steadily over time. So you're always going to be limited to some degree, right? In the absence of joining LinkedIn Premium, which, again, I'm with Lori, I don't think you really need to. Now, third degree connections are the people who are connected to your secondary degree connection. So now you're 3 layers out. In most cases, right, especially with a new account, if you want to connect with them, you're going to have somebody introduce them to you who is connected, right? So, and that could be tough to do because you're probably not connected to that person. So generally speaking, that's sort of the lay of the land. Now, when Lori's talking about sort of the profile, and this is in my experience, the profile breakdown, it is so crucial to put your school, every past employer, because what LinkedIn will do is give you the opportunity to connect with people who are associated with that school, with that employer, with that volunteer opportunity, with anything that is on your profile. And those are free connects, right? So the more people you connect to, right, whether you're best friends or just casually know them, or irrespective of whether they can offer you any assistance in a job hunt, is critical, because the more connections you have, the more access you have to reach out on a quote unquote random basis to somebody like a recruiter, right? So that would be my advice there. Now, having done that, job searching, how do we find the jobs we're looking for? And as Lori pointed out, the primary job sites, Monster, Indeed, etc., it's sort of replete, and at least in my opinion, with a degree of, I don't want to say dishonesty, but confusion on both sides. Because from the employer's perspective, many of those jobs actually aren't already filled, but they're posted for various reasons. And then you have a litany of people, job searchers, who are just randomly applying for literally every job in the world, right? And they may not want the job, they may not be qualified for the job, it may not even be in their area of focus or expertise, but it leads to this sort of muddled picture for the actual decision makers who, for the real jobs that are posted. So you're talking about like a hiring manager, recruiters, whatever the case may be. LinkedIn is a little bit better because of the social networking aspect, because what you have is a person's profile. You see their activity, you see their interactions on that social network end of LinkedIn, which I think is so critical. And then you have the actual meat and bones of the resume. So job searching is really no different than, from the functionality standpoint, than like an Indeed, right? LinkedIn.jobs, you'll see the job title, skill, city, state, and it'll also offer different suggestions, which you can go through and sort of, tailor to what you're actually looking for. And in my experience, you'll find a much more tailored approach in terms of the search results than you will in an Indeed or anything else, where their algorithms work differently, their promoted listings work differently, and you get a lot of muddled kind of stuff you don't need, right? That said, jobs seeker resources. So before you actually get into that searching phase or apply for a job, it's important to kind of go through the resources that LinkedIn offers and also what you can find outside LinkedIn. The biggest thing for me is the interview prep, right? Which you'll find these are sort of community sourced, things like common interview questions, interview process, desired skills, stuff like that, stuff that'll give you an insight. So when you do apply to a particular employer for a particular position, then you have an ability to tailor your approach, whether it be through the cover letter, your resume, or even going into an interview or a pre-interview. Then you know exactly, to the best of your ability, based on these resources here, what you can do, what you can say, what's ideal, what are they looking for, right? And that's a massive help that you don't really find on other sites, which I think makes LinkedIn far more valuable than just the job only sites. Also, the resume builder. So with the focus on AI, right, artificial intelligence and chat GPT and things like that, you kind of see these all over the web, right? Where you can take your, verbiage and sort of give it some prompts and it'll sort of spit out a resume. That's very helpful in a way. It is to a very, very strong degree, but it is a bit overused because at the end of the day, AI is really just aggregating data from the internet in a different way, right? And using different machine learning tools to reconfigure words. So to say that I'm going for a sales representative job in the automotive industry doesn't mean that the AI written resume that I get will be distinctly different from that of somebody else's. Not to mention the fact that your experience is always going to be different than somebody else's no matter what. So the resume builder is helpful in the sense that it can give you that base, especially since you can start with your LinkedIn profile and LinkedIn will generate like a PDF or Word-based resume that you can use. Now, the key is, and Lori mentioned this too, keywords, keyword friendly, right? Now, the premium version of LinkedIn will allow for an AI like based sort of enhanced revenue. And you can get that through Chat GPT and these other AI sources. And I think they're all about the same. But at the end of the day, keywords are key, right? Because there's just so many applications, right? And as a hiring manager, recruiter, you can't literally spend the day looking through every single resume that hits your inbox because, as I mentioned before, there's people who just apply for everything, right? So they're getting thousands and thousands and thousands of applications for some job in some cases. And the only way that they can find the relevant resumes are by the specific keywords. So again, I don't espouse purchasing the LinkedIn Premium, but I think something even as simple, and Lori mentioned this, just Googling, right? Hey, what are, keywords and key skills related to XYZ industry and XYZ job, and finding those and incorporating them are key. But this resume builder that LinkedIn offers in the free version is great because it'll give you just the backbones, right? And then it's your job to go in and sort of enhance that, make it keyword friendly, make it readable, make sure it's accurate, and everything that follows from there. Now, job seeking preferences, and I've heard this from interviewing somebody for my business who I'd found through LinkedIn. Will my current employer find out that I'm looking for jobs? And that can be a problem, and I think that's fair. So the easiest way to sort of manage that and mitigate that risk is through the privacy setting. So again, your profile, settings, account, and then privacy, and you'll see privacy options. And down there, you can look at different things, including job application settings and who can see your profile at certain times. So if you have, you're worried about your manager, your boss, seeing that you are actively seeking work, which you can make very clear through what's on your profile and how you, even the monikers you use, you can block them, right? And it's not something that they find out. It's not something that they would necessarily even know about. They just can't see you anymore. They can't see your activity. They can't see your profile that says, I'm currently seeking a position in XYZ space. So it's very easy to do that. And it also gives you the flexibility. And it can either be very specific, meaning like you can block certain people, you can block certain people from certain companies, or you can block everybody, right? Which I wouldn't suggest you do, because most cases, recruiters or hiring managers are going to look at your LinkedIn profile because it tends to be more readable than a PDF file, right? So once you've done that and you're ready to apply for a job, you go back to that search function and you find the job you want. And here we have one for Morton Salt here in Chicago. So as with Indeed and the other ones, obviously you hit apply. Now, before you do that, it's important to note that you see connections, right, in the bottom right corner of the job listing. And that will tell you who of your connections works there. Now, if you're just starting a LinkedIn account, maybe you have a few connections, you probably tangentially know whether somebody's working there or not. But over time, and if you kind of follow this methodology where I need to connect as many connections as I can, right? Because that'll give me greater access and a greater sort of ability to network freely. You may notice that there's 2-3 people who are, who are initially second or third degree connections who are now first degree connections who work at XYZ company. And those may be good resources to reach out to get insight, to see if they're, within the division or the team that you're looking to apply for. And that's something to consider. But in any event, you hit apply and you will be brought to one of two places, either within LinkedIn, an opportunity to upload resume and, answer certain questions through the LinkedIn site, or to that company's third-party hiring platform, which is common with most job profiles, and you sort of take it from there as you would with a traditional job posting website. So job filters, how do you find the job you want? This is the great part. There are a myriad of different qualifiers that you can use when searching for a job. And this is what makes this exceedingly unique. Like date posted, right? If the job's been out there for 6 months, it's probably not a real job, right? 3 months probably is a real job. Again, a lot of these companies, especially major corporations, post jobs for different legal reasons, for hiring practices and compliance therewith, and they keep those postings out there, but they're not legitimate postings. The jobs have been either filled, will be filled internally, and it's not really for public consumption. Salary, always important, job type, location, company, industry, job function, and experience level. So in my experience, job function and experience level are really the most valuable qualifiers, because your title doesn't always represent what you do, right? Like if you're familiar with the banking industry, and this is by no stretch of the imagination a knock on the banking industry, but vice president, which in many other companies signifies a very, very high level, right? Whether it only be perhaps like one person. Job vice president in the banking industry is actually sort of a mid-level, 5 to 10 year experience type function, right? So what your title is at one company doesn't always truly represent the magnitude or lack thereof that you're actually engaged with, right? There's just a ton of vice presidents at banks. Again, not to knock on the banking industry, but that doesn't mean that if the president steps down, you're all of a sudden in charge of Bank of America. There's thousands of vice presidents of Bank of America. So job function is key because you can put very specific qualifiers in terms of what you're doing, right? Not like what your title is, which says manager. Well, manager can mean a lot of different things. Vice president can mean a lot of different things. So job function is critical because it'll really tailor what your search results are. Then, of course, experience level. And again, title doesn't always dictate ability, nor does it dictate seniority, right? So your experience level in terms of years and education, stuff like that, that's super important as well. Title, again, like that's where I kind of, it can be helpful, but for comparison, but that's what I'm sort of suggesting in terms of like pitfalls. So in this day and age, is it remote? Is it half and half? Is it in office, distance? And then obviously benefits in terms of healthcare, retirements, stuff like that. So moving on, advice from recruiters. So, and I can echo this first one, keep your profile updated, like especially if you're job hunting, for a myriad of reasons. One, the algorithms with LinkedIn are constantly evolving and they're constantly looking for different qualifiers, right? And they're constantly matching you with jobs based on different things. So it's always important to keep that as current as you can, whether that be just doing a simple refresh, maybe once a month, every other month, right? In terms of keywords. And you can say the same thing, but just new content, right? And again, AI and everybody relies on it and people have different opinions on it, but a quick and easy way to do it, which obviously requires a subscription, is to use that. But at a minimum, come up with like your tagline and your sort of intro paragraph organically, keep, using Google to get the best keywords and just replacing them and rewriting it in a different way, right? Two, keeping your resume, LinkedIn profile synchronized. This is axiomatic, right? You definitely should have them not have any disparities between the two. And again, LinkedIn, you want to put as many different affiliations as you can for networking purposes. And then basic contact info, right? And if you look at, I'd encourage you to look at like a friend or somebody, a colleague's profile, you'll see when you search them, I say contact, right? Which will be a link and you can click it. Some people will have an email, some people will not, right? The reality is most people making hiring decisions aren't going to take the time, and it sounds lazy, but it's actually not, to click that contact to see if you have an email that you're publicly sharing, when you could simply just put the email in that header in the about section, right? So make it as easy as possible for somebody to contact you, and don't rely on, oh, they can contact me through LinkedIn. It's much preferred from a recruiter or hiring manager standpoint to just email you directly. So put your email, make it publicly available through the LinkedIn settings, and then also make it available just for a quick copy and paste in the about section. Keywords, I mentioned that, just refresh those and kind of stay abreast of how those may change. Jobs search status, you never want to seem open but not actively looking. You're either in or you're out, right? So in the sense that you can tailor your profile and your resume on LinkedIn to suggest that I'm actively seeking this job, it's really ideal versus saying, well, I'm open to opportunities, but let me know, because you're not going to get the direct outreach. And just from my vantage point, I get a ton of, random sort of messages through LinkedIn for, people trying to sell me stuff, people trying to do. So when you're inundated with like messages through there and like your profile says, well, yeah, I'm kind of open to it, and then you match with somebody, maybe they click through if they do, but when you don't stand out, it's just not really helping you anything. So, and again, you can block, your profile and the fact that you're actively seeking employment elsewhere or somewhere from people you don't want to ultimately see. The next one is actually a very good point. Run searches on your desired job and see if you come up. So you want to be, again, this is about optimization and keyword usage. If you don't come up, right, and you should, one, because it's you and it tends to, when you search individuals, it tends to show like first connections first. But if you're not, it's usually an indication that the keywords and the verbiage you're using on your profile is not optimized, meaning LinkedIn doesn't know, right, that you're engaged as a manager for this company or in this industry, or you have X amount of years of experience in another industry. So what you really want to do, again, using those keywords and keeping it fresh and updating it from time to time, is to check that through being able to search yourself, and within a reasonable, search, find yourself very quickly. And then looking at profiles of others, right? And this is sort of another hack in the sense that you have multiple people who may do somewhat of the same thing, but they've just positioned it differently. And they've used different language to sort of explain and sort of emphasize what their strengths are, what they do, what their job profiles are, or what their job responsibilities are. So just like Googling keywords or using AI to find keywords, looking at others' profiles may also give you a clue into how you can enhance your profile for purposes of sort of sticking out amongst the crowd. So moving on, opting in. In order to have, and I think this is something that is largely kind of ignored, but to be safe in terms of having recruiters finding you. So you've already have this optimized profile, you have an active resume, you have, gone through and you're refreshing and you have keywords and everything you do, your profile is as good as you want to get. Well, fine. Recruiters often just search for their own benefit without necessarily posting for a job. Because again, a recruiter especially is just really a broker. A recruiter's there saying, okay, well, I'm trying to, land or fulfill this position for this company, and I get a fee if I can find the right person. So a lot of times recruiters, as opposed to in-house hiring managers, are actively seeking, employers or potential employees through your profile. So it's very important to go back to the privacy settings where you can sort of block, people, but you can also opt in. And opt in basically says, I'm open to receiving unsolicited messages from recruiters, right? And so, and again, in my experience, the recruiters sort of somehow avoid this opt-in thing, but to be safe, definitely go in and do it, toggle it. You probably won't be inundated with a great degree of spam, but it's definitely safe to do it. So moving on, additional resources, you see some different websites here. I think, these are all great, and I've looked through them, and I think Lori, who put this great presentation together, did a phenomenal job of sort of, finding kind of the 5 best that are out there, and I think these are it. Another thing that I think is so helpful, and I mentioned it before, is finding persons in the position you want to obtain and looking at their profiles, right? Because those profiles, in most cases, will give you insight and clues into how you can enhance or tailor your profile to best meet the attention of either a hiring manager or recruiter, or the sort of qualifications, if you will, for the job.
Matt, if you want to sit here for a second, if anybody wants to take a screen, take a photo with your phone of this slide, just so you have these links, that would be great. Right. Sorry, Adam.
Frequently asked questions. So we got 3. There's probably a lot more, so feel free to ask them. But let's go through these main ones here. How do I control what others see when they view my profile? So again, that's just a function of settings and privacy, right? And you can tailor who sees what and how long they can or can't see it and from where they are, right? You could totally block it, which I would never really espouse doing, but you can sort of control who has access to it. Should I access LinkedIn on a computer or mobile? It's really immaterial. I think the majority of individuals access through mobile, which is sort of the standard these days. So it doesn't matter in terms of the functionality or the efficacy of it as a job searching tool. And then, do I need a LinkedIn premium membership? My opinion is no. I think it's very, it's a bit costly, and really the advantage, which I think is 25 unsolicited messages a month or something to that effect, it's not really worth it. Again, the way that you can sort of obviate the need for a LinkedIn premium membership is to build a base of connections, whether you need them or not, right? Because the more connections you have and the more active you are on the social network part in terms of like posting relevant articles, making comments, engaging with other people and having opinions, stuff like that, the more latitude LinkedIn gives you to just sort of randomly connect with others, which just sort of snowballed downhill. So that's that. And
Adam and Lori, I hate to interrupt, but we are at time, and I want to just
Yes.
make sure. I did get a couple questions in the chat, and one I really want to just make sure
Awesome.
gets addressed.
no, sure.
Is I believe this is for the summary section of your LinkedIn profile, but if you are currently unemployed, should your headline or your summary show that you are seeking new employment opportunities? Like, should you list that in your profile?
I say yes, but I wouldn't have it be the first few words in the summary. I don't know how you feel about that, Adam, but I would definitely use your normal summary and maybe end with, currently in search of, my next opportunity, something to that effect. Adam, your opinion?
Yeah, I think that's it. And I think, I don't think you need to use the word unemployed. I think you can crouch that in terms of seeking my next opportunity, or as you mentioned, lawyer, or something to that effect. I don't think you need to, be direct in terms of what your current job status is, other than
Yeah. As we've said, there are other ways you can signal that you're searching just through the privacy settings and whatnot. So